You know what the biggest lie we tell ourselves is? It's not that we're not good enough. It's not that we're not smart enough. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that respect is something we earn through our achievements, through our titles, through our bank accounts, through the number of followers we have on social media. We think that if we just work hard enough, if we just accomplish enough, if we just become successful enough, respect will automatically follow. And then we wake up one day and we realize something terrifying. We realize that we've climbed the ladder, we've achieved the goals, we've gotten the promotion, we've bought the house, we've done everything we thought we were supposed to do. And yet, when we look around, we see it in people's eyes, that lack of respect, that dismissive glance, that patronizing tone, and we wonder, what did I do wrong? I'm going to tell you something that changed my entire life, and I learned this the hard way. Respect isn't something you earn through what you achieve. Respect is something you command through who you are, and more importantly, through what you stop doing. See, we spend so much time thinking about what we need to do more of. We need to work harder. We need to be more confident. We need to speak up more. We need to be more assertive. But nobody talks about the things we need to stop doing. The behaviors that are silently killing our credibility, the habits that are making people see us as less than we are, the patterns that are destroying our self-respect. And when we don't respect ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to respect us? I want to take you on a journey today, a journey that's going to require you to be brutally honest with yourself. Because the truth is, most of us are engaging in at least one, if not all 5 of the behaviors I'm about to share with you, and we don't even realize it. We've normalized them, we've justified them, we've convinced ourselves that they're not that big of a deal, but they are. They're the difference between being someone people admire and being someone people tolerate, between being someone people seek out and being someone people avoid, between being someone who commands respect and being someone who constantly wonders why they're not getting it. Let me start with a story. When I first moved to Mumbai, I was 17 years old. I had just won Miss World, and everyone around me treated me like I had it all figured out. But the truth was, I was terrified. I walked into that film industry knowing absolutely nothing. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to dance. I didn't speak Hindi fluently. I was surrounded by people who had been training for this their entire lives, who came from film families, who understood the language and the culture in a way I never could. And I did what most people do when they're scared and insecure. I tried to be everything to everyone. If a director wanted me to be a certain way, I'd mold myself. If a producer had a vision, I'd sacrifice my own. If someone criticized me, I'd immediately change to please them. I said yes to everything, even when every fiber of my being was screaming no. I laughed at jokes that weren't funny. I stayed quiet when I wanted to speak up. I made myself smaller so others could feel bigger. And you know what happened. Nobody respected me. Not really. They liked that I was compliant. They appreciated that I was easy to work with. But respect, that came later. Much later. After I learned to stop doing the things that were making me invisible, the first thing you need to stop doing if you want people to respect you is this. Stop seeking validation from everyone around you. Stop making other people's opinions of you more important than your own opinion of yourself. Stop handing over your self-worth to people who don't even know your story. This is the big one. This is the behavior that will destroy you faster than anything else. Because when you're constantly seeking validation, you become a chameleon. You become whatever you think people want you to be. And here's the problem with that. Nobody respects a chameleon. Nobody trusts someone who's different with every person they meet. Nobody wants to invest in someone who doesn't even know who they are. I see this everywhere. I see it in young professionals who are so desperate to impress their bosses that they lose their own voice. I see it in entrepreneurs who are so focused on what the market wants that they abandon their vision. I see it in artists who are so concerned with going viral that they stop creating what matters to them. I see it in relationships where people twist themselves into knots trying to be what their partner wants instead of being who they are. And the tragic thing is, it never works. Because people can sense inauthenticity from a mile away. They might not be able to articulate what's off, but they feel it. That discomfort, that sense that something isn't quite right, that feeling that they can't fully trust you because you don't even trust yourself. Let me tell you what happened when I stopped seeking validation. I was offered a role in a film, and the director wanted me to do something that made me deeply uncomfortable. It wasn't anything scandalous or inappropriate, but it just wasn't me. The old me would have said yes immediately. The old me would have thought, who am I to question a director? Who am I to have an opinion? But I had reached a point where I was tired of betraying myself. So I said no, and I watched the shock ripple across the room. People weren't used to me saying no. They weren't used to me having boundaries. And I won't lie to you, it was terrifying. I thought my career was over. I thought I'd never work again. But something incredible happened. The director respected my decision. He didn't agree with it, but he respected it. And more importantly, I respected myself. For the first time in a long time, I looked in the mirror and felt proud of who I was. Not because of what I had accomplished, but because of what I had stood for. Here's what I want you to understand. When you stop seeking validation, when you stop needing everyone to like you, when you stop changing yourself to fit into every room you walk into, something magical happens. You start attracting the right people, the people who respect you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. You start building real relationships based on authenticity, not performance. You start making decisions that align with your values, not with what you think will make people approve of you. And yes, some people will fall away. Some people will be uncomfortable with the real you. Some people will prefer the version of you that made them feel comfortable. And that's okay. Let them go, because those aren't your people anyway. The second thing you need to stop doing is this: stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop making yourself smaller. Stop dimming your light so others don't feel threatened. Stop prefacing every statement with "I'm sorry," or "maybe this is stupid, but," or "I don't know if this makes sense." Stop shrinking. Every time you apologize for existing, for speaking, for having needs, for having opinions, you're telling the world that you don't believe you deserve to be here. And if you don't believe it, why should anyone else? I learned this lesson in Hollywood. When I first started auditioning for American projects, I noticed something. I would walk into rooms and immediately make myself smaller. I'd speak more softly. I'd be overly polite. I'd apologize for things that didn't require apologies. "I'm sorry, can I ask a question?" "I'm sorry, I don't mean to bother you, but could you repeat that?" "I'm sorry, this might be a silly idea, but what if we tried it this way?" And I realized something devastating. The more I apologized, the less seriously people took me. They saw me as sweet, nice, easy to work with, but not as someone they needed to listen to, not as someone whose ideas mattered, not as someone they respected. I started studying the people who commanded respect in those rooms, the actors who got what they wanted, the directors whose vision was never questioned, the producers who could walk into any meeting and own it. And you know what I noticed? They never apologized for taking up space. They walked in like they belonged there. They spoke with conviction. They asked for what they wanted without hedging or softening or apologizing. They understood something that I was just beginning to learn. That confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about believing you have a right to be in the room, that your voice matters, that your perspective has value. Even if you're wrong, even if your idea doesn't work out, even if you're still learning, you belong. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. The world doesn't reward humility the way we think it does. Yes, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and we'll talk about that. But there's also a difference between humility and self-diminishment. Humility is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses and being grounded in both. Self-diminishment is pretending you don't have strengths at all. It's making yourself small so others feel big. And let me tell you something, when you make yourself small, people treat you that way. They walk over you. They dismiss your ideas. They take advantage of your kindness. They assume you don't have anything valuable to offer. Not because you don't, but because you've convinced them you don't. I want you to do something for me. For the next week, I want you to notice how many times you apologize when an apology isn't warranted. How many times you minimize your accomplishments. How many times you downplay your intelligence. How many times you say, I'm not an expert, or I could be wrong, but before sharing an idea. And then I want you to stop. Just stop. Speak with conviction. Own your space. Stand tall. Use your full voice. Ask for what you need without apology. Share your ideas without disclaimers. Take up the physical and emotional space that you're entitled to as a human being. And watch what happens. Watch how people start treating you differently. Watch how opportunities start opening up. Watch how respect starts flowing in your direction. The third thing you need to stop doing, and this one is painful, is this: stop surrounding yourself with people who don't value you. Stop maintaining relationships that drain you. Stop investing in people who wouldn't invest in you. Stop holding onto friendships that ended years ago but you're too afraid to let go of. Stop staying in spaces where you're tolerated but not celebrated. Your circle matters. The people you spend time with shape who you become. They influence your thoughts, your behaviors, your beliefs about what's possible. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who don't respect you, who don't value you, who don't see your worth, you will start to believe them. You will internalize their treatment of you. You will begin to think that's all you deserve. I had a friendship once that I held on to for far too long. We had been friends since childhood, and I loved her deeply. But as we grew older, I started noticing a pattern. Every time something good happened in my life, she would find a way to diminish it. If I got a new role, she'd remind me of someone who was more successful. If I shared an accomplishment, she'd change the subject to herself. If I was excited about something, she'd find the flaw in it. And I kept making excuses for her. She's just having a bad day. She's dealing with her own insecurities. She doesn't mean it. But the truth was, she did mean it. Maybe not consciously, but her behavior was consistent. And it was affecting me. I started doubting myself. I started minimizing my own achievements. I started feeling guilty for being happy. I started dimming my light so she wouldn't feel bad. One day, another friend pulled me aside and said something that changed everything. She said, real friends celebrate your wins like they're their own. They don't make you feel bad for succeeding. They don't make you apologize for your joy. They amplify you, not diminish you. And I realized she was right. I was holding on to a relationship that was hurting me simply because of history, simply because I was afraid of being alone, simply because I thought loyalty meant accepting poor treatment. So I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I created distance. I didn't make a big announcement or have a dramatic confrontation. I simply stopped investing my energy there. I stopped sharing my life with someone who couldn't celebrate it. I stopped seeking support from someone who couldn't provide it. And it hurt. It hurt so much. But it also freed me. It freed me to find people who truly valued me, who cheered for me, who wanted the best from me, who respected me. Here's what you need to understand about respect. You can't command respect from others if you don't respect yourself enough to set boundaries. If you don't respect yourself enough to walk away from relationships that harm you, if you don't respect yourself enough to say, I deserve better than this, people will treat you exactly how you allow them to treat you. If you accept disrespect, you will receive more disrespect. If you accept being taken for granted, you will continue to be taken for granted. If you accept being someone's last priority, you will never become their first. This isn't about being difficult or high maintenance or impossible to please. This is about having standards. This is about understanding your value and refusing to accept anything less than what you deserve. And I know what some of you are thinking, but I don't want to be alone. I don't want to cut people off. What if I lose everyone? Let me tell you something. Being alone is better than being disrespected. Being alone is better than being in relationships that make you feel worthless. Being alone is better than surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy and kill your spirit. And here's the beautiful part. When you start respecting yourself enough to let go of the wrong people, you create space for the right people. You create space for relationships that nourish you, for friendships that energize you, for connections that make you better. But you can't receive those people while you're still clinging to the ones who hurt you. The fourth thing you need to stop doing is this: stop oversharing and over-explaining yourself. Stop telling everyone your business. Stop justifying every decision you make. Stop seeking permission for your choices from people who aren't living your life. There is power in mystery. There is power in privacy. There is power in not needing everyone to understand your journey. When you over-explain, when you overshare, when you constantly need people to validate your decisions, you hand over your power. You make yourself vulnerable to criticism and judgment from people who don't have the full picture. You open yourself up to unsolicited advice and opinions that confuse you and pull you off course. I learned this in the most public way possible. When I started dating, when I got married, when I made career decisions, everyone had an opinion. Everyone thought they knew what was best for me. The media scrutinized every choice. Social media analyzed every move. People who had never met me felt entitled to comment on my life. And at first, I felt this overwhelming need to explain myself, to defend my choices, to make people understand. I would post long captions explaining my decisions. I would give interviews justifying my choices. I would try to control the narrative by oversharing. And all it did was give people more ammunition, more things to pick apart, more angles to criticize. I was exhausting myself trying to make everyone understand and approve of my life. Then I had a realization. I don't owe anyone an explanation for my life. Not the media, not social media, not even well-meaning friends and family members. The only person I need to answer to is myself. The only approval I need is my own. So I stopped explaining. I stopped defending. I stopped oversharing. I made my decisions based on what was right for me, and I let people think what they wanted to think. And something incredible happened. People started respecting me more, because when you're not constantly explaining yourself, you project confidence, you project certainty, you project self-assurance. You communicate that you trust yourself enough not to need everyone's approval, and that commands respect. Think about the people you respect most in your life. I bet they're not the ones who are constantly oversharing every detail of their lives. They're not the ones who are always explaining and justifying their decisions. They're the ones who move with quiet confidence, who make choices and own them, who don't feel the need to broadcast every thought and feeling, who understand that not everything needs to be shared, who know that some things are sacred and private and just for them. There's dignity in that. There's power in that. There's respect in that. Now, I'm not saying you should never share. I'm not saying you should never explain. I'm not saying you should be closed off and inaccessible. What I'm saying is be intentional about what you share and with whom. Share with people who have earned the right to hear your story. Share with people who will hold your vulnerability with care. Share with people who genuinely care about you, not just people who are curious or nosy or looking for gossip. And when you make a decision, make it because it's right for you, not because you think you can explain it in a way that will get everyone's approval. Because here's the truth, you will never make everyone happy. You will never get everyone to understand. You will never please everyone. So stop trying. Make decisions that align with your values, that serve your growth, that honor your truth, and let that be enough. The fifth and final thing you need to stop doing, and this might be the most important one, is this: stop staying silent when you should speak up. Stop swallowing your words. Stop biting your tongue. Stop letting moments pass where you know you should say something, but you don't because you're afraid of the consequences. Stop being complicit in your own disrespect by not standing up for yourself. Every time you stay silent when someone crosses a boundary, you teach them that your boundaries don't matter. Every time you stay silent when someone disrespects you, you tell them that disrespect is acceptable. Every time you stay silent when you witness injustice, you become part of the problem. This is the one I struggled with the most. Growing up, I was taught to be polite, to be nice, to not make waves, to keep the peace. And those aren't bad values in themselves. But somewhere along the way, I confused being polite with being silent. I confused being nice with being a doormat. I confused keeping the peace with accepting mistreatment. I can't tell you how many times I sat in meetings where someone took credit for my idea and I said nothing. How many times someone made a comment that made me uncomfortable and I just smiled. How many times I witnessed someone being treated unfairly and I looked the other way. How many times I let moments pass where I should have spoken up, but I convinced myself it wasn't worth it. It's not a big deal. I don't want to cause problems. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. What if I'm wrong? What if people think I'm difficult? There was a turning point for me. I was on set, and I watched a young crew member being berated by someone in a position of power. It was humiliating. It was cruel. It was completely unnecessary. And everyone just stood there, including me. We all witnessed it. We all knew it was wrong, but nobody said anything. And I watched this young person's face, and I saw their spirit breaking. I saw the embarrassment. I saw the humiliation. And something inside me snapped, because I had been that person. I had been on the receiving end of that treatment. I had stood there and taken it because I didn't think I had the right to speak up, because I was afraid of the consequences, because I thought staying silent was the safe choice. So I spoke up. My voice was shaking, but I spoke up. I said, I don't think that's an appropriate way to speak to anyone on this set. We're all here to do our jobs, and we all deserve to be treated with respect. And the room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. The person who had been yelling turned to me, and I saw the anger flash in their eyes. And I thought, this is it. This is where my career ends. But then something incredible happened. Other people started speaking up. Other people who had witnessed the same thing but were afraid to say anything found their voice, because I had found mine. And by the end of it, that behavior was addressed. That person apologized, and I realized something powerful. Silence doesn't keep you safe. Silence makes you complicit. Silence makes you part of the problem. And more than anything, silence makes you lose respect for yourself. Here's what I need you to hear. You don't have to be rude to speak up. You don't have to be aggressive to set a boundary. You don't have to be confrontational to address disrespect. You can be calm and clear and firm. You can speak your truth with grace and dignity. But you must speak it. You must use your voice. You must stand up for yourself and for others. Because every time you stay silent, you chip away at your self-respect. And when you don't respect yourself, nobody else will either. I want you to think about a moment in your life where you wish you had spoken up, but you didn't. Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it was yesterday. Close your eyes and go back to that moment. Feel what you felt. Remember what you wanted to say. Now imagine if you had said it. Imagine if you had used your voice. Imagine if you had stood up for yourself or for someone else. How would that have changed things? How would that have changed you? Now I want you to make a commitment. The next time a moment like that comes, and it will come, you will speak up. You will use your voice. You will not let that moment pass, because your voice matters. Your truth matters. You matter. Let me bring this all together for you. These 5 things: seeking validation, apologizing for taking up space, surrounding yourself with people who don't value you, oversharing and over-explaining, and staying silent when you should speak up. They're all connected. They all stem from the same root issue: a lack of self-respect, a belief, often unconscious, that you're not enough, that you don't deserve to be heard, that you don't deserve to take up space, that you don't deserve to be valued, that you don't deserve respect. And that belief is a lie. It's a lie that's been programmed into you by a society that profits from your insecurity, by systems that benefit when you stay small, by people who feel threatened by your power. But here's the truth. You are enough. You are worthy. You deserve to be respected, not because of what you've achieved, not because of your title or your bank account or your followers, but because you are a human being with inherent worth and dignity. And when you start living from that truth, when you start making decisions from that place, everything changes. You stop seeking validation because you validate yourself. You stop apologizing for existing because you know you have a right to be here. You stop tolerating disrespect because you know you deserve better. You stop oversharing because you trust yourself enough not to need everyone's approval. You stop staying silent because you know your voice has power. This journey isn't easy. It requires courage. It requires you to face your fears. It requires you to disappoint people. It requires you to let go of relationships that no longer serve you. It requires you to stand alone sometimes. It requires you to choose yourself, even when choosing yourself is scary. But I promise you, it's worth it. On the other side of this work is a version of you that you're proud of, a version of you that looks in the mirror and feels respect, a version of you that walks into rooms and commands respect without demanding it, a version of you that doesn't need to fight for respect because you embody it. I think about where I was when I first started this journey, 17 years old, terrified, desperate for approval, willing to be anyone except myself. And I think about where I am now, standing in my power, using my voice, setting boundaries, choosing relationships that honor me, making decisions that align with my values. And the difference isn't in what I've achieved. The difference is in who I've become. The difference is in the respect I have for myself. And that self-respect radiates out. It changes how people see me. It changes how people treat me. It changes the opportunities that come my way. It changes everything. So I want to leave you with a challenge. Starting today, commit to stopping these 5 behaviors. Not perfectly. You're going to mess up. You're going to slip back into old patterns. You're going to have moments where you seek validation or apologize unnecessarily or stay silent when you should speak up. That's okay. This is a practice, not a destination. But commit to the practice. Commit to catching yourself. Commit to choosing differently. Commit to building self-respect one decision at a time. And I want you to notice what happens. Notice how your relationships change. Notice how your career shifts. Notice how opportunities open up. Notice how your internal dialogue transforms. Notice how you start feeling about yourself. Because that's where the real magic is. Not in how others see you, although that will change too. The real magic is in how you see yourself, in the respect you have for yourself, in the pride you feel when you look in the mirror, in the knowledge that you're living in alignment with your values, that you're honoring yourself, that you're taking up the space you're entitled to, that you're using your voice, that you're standing in your power. People ask me all the time, what's the secret to success? How did you make it in Bollywood and Hollywood? How did you break barriers? How did you overcome obstacles? And they expect me to give them some formula, some step-by-step process, some hack. But the truth is, there is no secret, there is no hack. The only thing that changed everything for me was learning to respect myself, learning to stop doing the things that were making me complicit in my own disrespect, learning to stand in my worth, not because I had proven it through achievements, but because it was inherent, because I was born worthy. Just like you were born worthy. And I wish someone had told me this when I was 17. I wish someone had pulled me aside and said, stop trying to be everything to everyone. Stop seeking validation. Stop making yourself small. Stop tolerating disrespect. Stop staying silent. You don't need to earn respect by being perfect. You command respect by being authentic, by having boundaries, by valuing yourself, by using your voice. I wish someone had told me that the power was always within me, that I didn't need to look outside myself for it. That respect starts with self-respect. That how others treat you is a direct reflection of how you treat yourself. But nobody told me that. I had to learn it the hard way. Through mistakes, through pain, through moments of such profound disrespect that I had no choice but to change. Through nights where I cried myself to sleep because I didn't recognize the person I had become. Through mornings where I looked in the mirror and didn't like what I saw. Through years of molding myself to fit into spaces that were never meant for me. Through the slow, painful realization that I was betraying myself every single day. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to learn it the hard way. You can choose differently right now. You can start today. You can stop doing these 5 things and watch your entire life transform. I want to tell you one more story before we close. A few years ago, I was at an event and a young woman came up to me. She was probably in her early 20s and she had tears in her eyes. She said, I just wanted to thank you. I asked her what for, and she said, for showing me that I don't have to make myself small, for showing me that I can be ambitious and feminine, for showing me that I can take up space, for showing me that my voice matters. And I hugged her and I said, "You always had that power. You didn't need me to show you anything. You just needed permission to be yourself." And she said, "But nobody ever gave me that permission." And I said, "You don't need anyone's permission. You give yourself permission. And that's what I'm giving you today. Permission. Permission to stop seeking validation. Permission to stop apologizing for existing. Permission to let go of relationships that don't serve you. Permission to stop over-explaining yourself. Permission to use your voice. Permission to take up space. Permission to command respect by respecting yourself. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to wait until you're more successful or more confident or more prepared. You start now, right now. In this moment, you make a decision that things are going to be different, that you are going to be different, that you're done betraying yourself, that you're done accepting less than you deserve, that you're done playing small, that you're done staying silent, that you're done. And when you make that decision, when you truly commit to it, your entire life will shift. The people around you will shift. The opportunities available to you will shift. But most importantly, your relationship with yourself will shift. You'll start to like yourself again. You'll start to trust yourself again. You'll start to respect yourself again. And that self-respect will be the foundation on which you build everything else. Your career, your relationships, your impact, your legacy, everything will flow from that place of self-respect. So here's my final question for you. Are you ready? Are you ready to stop doing these 5 things? Are you ready to stop seeking validation and start validating yourself? Are you ready to stop apologizing for taking up space and start owning your space? Are you ready to stop surrounding yourself with people who don't value you and start building a circle that celebrates you? Are you ready to stop over-explaining and start trusting your decisions? Are you ready to stop staying silent and start using your voice? Are you ready to command the respect you deserve by first giving it to yourself? Because I believe you are. I believe you're ready. I believe you've been ready. You've just been waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, to tell you it's safe, to tell you that you won't lose everything if you change. So I'm telling you, it's okay, it's safe, and yes, you might lose some things, some people, some opportunities that weren't meant for you anyway. But what you'll gain is infinitely more valuable. You'll gain yourself. You'll gain your power. You'll gain your voice. You'll gain your self-respect. And from that place, you can build anything. You can achieve anything. You can become anyone. The world needs you, not the small, apologetic, people-pleasing version of you. The real you, the powerful you, the authentic you, the you who speaks up and sets boundaries and takes up space and commands respect. That version of you has something to offer that nobody else does. That version of you can make an impact that nobody else can. That version of you can change lives, including your own. But you have to choose it. You have to commit to it. You have to stop doing the things that are keeping you small and start doing the things that will help you grow. So starting today, watch yourself. Notice when you're seeking validation. Notice when you're apologizing unnecessarily. Notice when you're tolerating disrespect. Notice when you're over-explaining. Notice when you're staying silent. And in those moments, pause. Take a breath and choose differently. Choose self-respect. Choose boundaries. Choose your voice. Choose yourself one decision at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. Build the muscle of self-respect. Strengthen it. Nurture it. Protect it. Because it's the most valuable thing you have. And remember, respect isn't something you beg for. It's not something you convince people to give you. It's not something you achieve through perfection. Respect is something you command through authenticity, through boundaries, through self-worth, through the unwavering belief that you deserve to be here, that your voice matters, that you have value. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And when you believe that, truly believe it, everyone else will believe it too. Not because you're perfect, not because you never make mistakes, but because you respect yourself enough to not accept anything less than what you deserve. So go out there and stop doing these 5 things. Stop seeking validation. Stop apologizing for existing. Stop tolerating disrespect. Stop over-explaining. Stop staying silent. And watch what happens. watch how your life transforms. Watch how your relationships deepen. Watch how your career accelerates. Watch how your confidence grows. Watch how your self-respect becomes the